On board, we always say that the guest personality is what brings the weather, all right? So the staff on board and the crew, we have high expectations now in regards to what kind of weather are you gonna bring us. So keep the good work. You worked very hard throughout the last couple of days to make it sunshine today. And as you can see, probably the only spot with sunshine everywhere around was where we were operating. So I was kind of happy with that. So I hope you had you found your way around the temperatures. You felt how it's gonna be more or less. We had a little bit of wind coming up and down. You felt the zodiacs. Did you like riding the boats? Yeah. All right. I hope you like our drivers also. We have very good. Yes. That clap is only for Kate and Rachel, right? I knew it. Ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to show you a couple of pictures in regards to I would like to start with the charts so we kind of get an idea on our position, where we went, where we're going. So once again, just as a reminder, South America, Falkland Islands, the Drake Passage, the Antarctic Peninsula, the South Shetland Island groups, and the Arctic Peninsula, Trinity Peninsula here. A little bit of a closer look, the Drake Passage above the islands, the Garlacia Strait, South Shetland Islands, where we have been today. On the little square is the farther south area of the South Shetland Island, between Greenwich and Livingston Island. This first square is where Half Moon is located, right? So that was intention this morning, that was the plan we had last night. As we were coming in, the captain up at the bridge and the deck officers, the bridge officers, they were watching the weather. Most of the wind was coming on this direction, okay? As it does that, it just goes straight into the beach on the other beach, on the island that we were planning to visit. And that's not exactly good for us. So as we were looking at this weather, the captain called me up to the bridge. We looked at how the weather prediction was going. We knew that there was a little bit more wind coming in the afternoon. On this area, Yankee Harbor and Greenwich Island on the top side is where we were the afternoon. So here, this mountain range provided protection and give us shelter for our operation. So it's always a balance of trying to find a good place to give you a spot, but at the same time, we have to make sure that nobody else is there. There is a number of ships that do this in Antarctica. There might be a ship on the area, so even if the conditions were good up here and there was somebody else operating, we could have potentially lost this area because we couldn't go just across the bay if it was somebody else. So there's a few factors that can just affect the program as we are here. So luckily for us, was nobody there, so we can make a quick decision, just move over to the north and do the operations. And we, the staff, we were very happy. First of all, I hope you all felt that pungent aroma of Antarctica. The elephant seals are the best. We like them very much, and I personally was very happy to see the big group, and even happier to see that everybody respected the guidelines and the animals felt comfortable. You saw they didn't run away, they didn't move. So hopefully everybody had a chance, everybody that went ashore had a chance to see them, so we were very happy with that. As a matter of fact, I went around the landing site talking to the expedition staff, and they told me personally, please do thank the guests because everybody behaved very good today. Thank you. So you can go ashore again. Very well. So let's look again at the far map. We have the South Shetland Islands, and we're gonna head south through this channel. This is the Garlacia Strait, named after a famous explorer on the area. Where you see the black square is more or less where we plan to operate on the next few days. Of course, it will all depend how the ice is moving. So a little bit more of a close-up on the Garlacia Strait. We have what we call the Palmer Archipelago. On the upper part, we have a group of islands, the larger one being called Brabant, then Anvers, and then on this side is the mainland with our Arctic Peninsula. So this is more or less where we're going to help to be operating in the next few days. We're going to be moving back and forth, and we're going to be sailing. Usually during the evenings, we're going to be around this area, hanging around and maybe having some encounters with wildlife. As we sail south, this is more or less the line of navigation. We hope to stop on this little corner here. We're going to have a little bit of a closer look. We have the peninsula, we have a place called the Ronge Island, and this channel, which can be quite deep. These depths are in meters, 393 meters here, about 1,200 feet and then goes to 50 meters, 150 feet, so it gets very shallow to cross the Herrera Channel. But this is a place that usually we have some wildlife that hangs around. It's a good place for food, and we have the largest colony of Gentoo penguins in this little island. Also on this corner between the island and the tip of Angers, there are some icebergs. So we might have seen some ice tomorrow. So Cooperville Island is our aim for tomorrow. Hopefully when we do the announcement in the morning and Jen comes to wish you good morning, tell you the weather conditions, hopefully we'll be there. If we're not there, it's going to be a surprise, and we'll tell you in the zodiacs where we are and what we're doing. Is the spirit of our expedition. We have noticed already that the snow is very low. Generally, last year at this very same time, when we were operating in the South Shetland Islands, we were carving steps on snow for everybody to go to the shore side. Today we had almost all the snow gone, so we are expecting to have not so much snow when we go tomorrow to Cooperville Island. This is a little bit of view of the bay. This goes looking towards the Herrera Channel that we look on the chart. We have the zodiac stop in here. We have a bit of stones that we have to negotiate. Depending on the tide, you just have to be careful with your balance, as it might be a little bit slippery on this section, on the very first section, when we leave from the boats and go a little bit up. There are plenty of penguin highways here. Again, this is the largest breeding colony of Gentoo penguins, so we're going to be paying special attention tomorrow to the penguin highways in Cooperville Island. Ladies and gentlemen, the weather. Do we want to know about the weather? Yeah, you know, just an idea. Just for reference. The Norwegians say, any Norwegians in the audience? I think the captain is Norwegian, right? Yeah, so yeah, if he's wrong, I don't know, maybe it's the captain's fault. So, what we see here on these blue columns, this is precipitation. So for tomorrow, it is expected to have some snowfall. Maybe we have snowfall, maybe we have rain. The temperatures are pretty close to zero, -2 degrees Celsius, 28, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and expects to be fairly stable throughout the time of the operations. But according to this prediction, there might be a little bit of snow or rain tomorrow when we are doing our operations. So be prepared for that. It might be a little bit cooler. The wind seems to be helping us. This wind direction, we have 10 knots. This will be blowing from behind the island, so hopefully we'll have a little bit of shelter to operate in the bay. And about 10 knots, pretty constant throughout the day. So this is what we expect to see tomorrow. Who's going out first tomorrow? Green, your turn to cap. Yes, green, go green. Whites, you going last. The others, you know, I heard there is a black market of swapping armbands. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I just heard about it. Yeah, I have a few for sale. Let me know. Reminders, 90 minutes as usual. We're going to try our best to give you the time. Of course, walking on the small inclines, small stones, snow or rocks. And remember just to open up your parka to ventilate. We might be walking a little bit more tomorrow than we did walk today, but the place is very small. From the landing site to the left and to the right, we have a few colonies, so we can go up on both areas to visit with them. Walking sticks, everybody did very well. But again, just remember, if you have a walking stick, to make sure everything is tightly secured. Tomorrow, we're going to be a little bit more strict with a flag route. Today we had what we call a free roaming area where you can just freely move around between a site. Tomorrow we're going to be a bit more strict about a flag route, a route that you must follow when we are on the shore side. Please do be aware of your belongings. We did rescue a couple of belongings today. We're very happy to find the owners, but please remember, be aware of your belongings on the shore side. And again, we recommend you keep your life wildlife jacket on the shore side. And the expected size, Gentoo penguins, skuas. Some of you saw some skua action today. As we go farther south, the penguins will not be yet on that stage where they're popping out of the egg. So tomorrow we might see them on nests, but we might not see chicks. Because the farther south, the lower temperatures, they might not have come out of the eggs yet. But we'll only know when we get there tomorrow. And do please use the guanomatics to clean your boots. We have the guano scale that goes from 1 to 10. Tomorrow we're expecting a 5 if there is not a lot of snow. So just please be aware, we might need you to do a little bit more vigorous scrubbing on the guanomatics when we take you to the shore side. And kayak tickets again just after dinner on your suite. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again very much for your cooperation today with the guidelines and going in and out of the boats. You've been great. Keep the good job, yeah? We still got 5 days to go. Keep it going. Thank you.
Iggy, huh? Doing a great job for us. Trevor, can we get the lights down just a touch? I want to focus on some of the, what should I talk about? Penguins, yeah? Can I do it? If you've got a little bit of a leftover cold, you know, a little hoarse, right? It helps, yeah? I'm not gonna, you know, luckily I don't smell like a penguin. Gen 2 penguins, yeah? Gen 2. We had one lone chin strap, came over from Half Moon, said, why didn't you come to my island? We said, that's a little windy. So we're gonna be over here at Yankee Harbor. Fantastic place. This is an aerial photo. Anybody recognize? Yeah, a little landing area here, Yankee Harbor. But one of the things, I put this up, I took this 11, 12 years ago, or no, 22 years ago, by a helicopter, slides. And one of the things I noticed is this glacier is gone back there. This is like a little spit of land, and these glaciers are, you know, retreating. And we'll talk about it a little later. So here's the spit that we did, landing right in here. And this was taken from a helicopter. I'm not that tall. And of course, we had some penguins up here on the cliff areas there, the side there. And we walked along this area down below for the Gen 2s, a perfect spot for our first landing, a great spot with scenery and good weather as well. So I remember, well, I don't remember to tell you the truth, 22 years ago, we landed later on and came ashore and counted all these. I think it's somewhere around 2,000 pairs of Gen 2 penguins in there. So if you didn't see a Gen 2 penguin today and went ashore, you need to see the doctor, okay? And get, you know, get something going there, okay? Now, one of the things that everybody asked was, what are all the white streaks and what are the pink streaks? White poop equals fish, and pink poop equals krill. I took this a long time ago and I was waiting. I'm like, can you just finish the clock there and I can get the whole thing going? But lots of fish in this diet, lots of krill today. I know there were humpbacks in the area. We saw whales all day yesterday on the approach. The krill looks like it's doing really well. Gen 2s will dive a little more deeply. And they will take fish if they can't find krill, but it looks like a lot of krill poop out there in the world. Now, here was the big thing. Everybody's like, what are they doing with the pebbles, right? So we know they need the nests, right? They need the nests to elevate them up off of the ground in case it snows to keep them dry. And then the mates were coming back and saying hello to their other mate, and it was both males and females on there, both males and females at this time, changing the nesting duties or changing the guarding of the chick duties. And as soon as they switch the nest, they will get off and sometimes grab pebbles, or they'll walk up and say, how you doing? I'm fine, honey, thank you, go get some pebbles. So the penguin goes, where does it go? Not right there next to it to grab the pebble. He goes, yeah, you know, I kind of remember some pebbles all the way over there. So he goes all the way over there and then grabs a pebble and it comes back. But did you see some of them grab the tiniest little pebble? I told you, they do amazing things, but they're not that bright, right? So they go all over this giant pile and they go, I think I'll take that little tiny thing and bring it back. And so you can hear the mate going, oh, you know. So, I don't know. And they forget what they're doing. Did you see that? They were walking along and I'm gonna go get a pebble. And then they get a pebble and they stop and they go, what was that? Oh yeah, I was gonna get a pebble. And then they go, oh, wow, you guys are really big, you know, and they looked at us. I think they wonder what kind of krill we eat to get so big and orange, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's nest, keep those eggs dry, lift that up there, get them dry. The penguin keeps the eggs warm and the nest keep the eggs dry because it can snow big time in the Shetlands. Really, it could snow 1-2 feet, half a meter easily overnight in the springtime, and it often does. And when that all melts around, you want to have a lot of pebbles in that nest. When they greet each other, now that you are all Gen 2 penguin experts, I want you to listen, stop with the pictures, and listen, because when they come up to greet each other, they go, here's my little bitty pebble, and then they go, they actually do this little to each other. I have no idea what it means. It's like, yeah, mutual display. It's great. Thank you for the pebble. Next time, get a bigger one. So, and then we had the chicks popping out. My gosh, I told lots of you on shore, 1 year ago exactly today, we saw how many chicks? One chick. So by good fortune, I think, there was a little bit less snow. I think the penguins had less snow to battle with, and they got their nests going a little bit early, so they're about 8 or 9 days early, and that afforded us to see the little bobbleheads. Now, it's 33 to 34 days of incubation, and it takes 2 days between the eggs for the female. So they're now into the incubation of 35 to 37 days. So those guys are popping out. But you have to backtrack another 3 weeks for the arrival time for the males and females, because then there's courting and mating and then egg laying. So now we're already 7 weeks into these guys coming here. And some of those guys were on the high cliffs on the sides there because that's wind-blown area. You know, everybody's like, why do they climb all the way up there? If you swim 100 miles for lunch, you can climb up that little hill. You know, they're out there going, they go, okay, up the hill. And then back and forth and back and forth. But we got really lucky to see some eggs in there with the chicks. When they're just a day old, you can still see the egg tooth on that just pecked out. When they're 1 day old, their neck muscles aren't strong enough. So they're like, oh, okay. And then when they're by day 2, they start to actually eat the food that's regurgitated from the parents. And so they're fed very, very quickly. They grow very, very quickly. And the black on the top of the head, the gray body as well. And in about 5 days, 6 days, they're going to be this big. They're already like going up. Mom and dad are like, okay, pretty good feeding. And sometimes there's not even enough room, and they're all falling around on the side. It's like, whoa, packed in under there. We did have some skuas coming in there, coming in to get eggs and chicks. You saw some predation, right? Go predator, right? Everybody loves to see the predator, but you don't want to see them eat, right? When you go to Africa, what do you want to get? The predators. No. Skuas are part of the system there, and they're going in for their eggs, and they actually took one, I'm laughing, I shouldn't laugh, but they actually took one tiny little 1 day old chick. Kirsten was like, look, this one just hatched, and the skua goes boom, and dropped it down. But no, you gotta remember the skuas, very smart, very long lived. They live 35 years, some of those skuas, and they work in tandem, sometimes males and females. One of them will pull the tail and talk bad about their mother, and then they turn around and grab the egg, grab the chick, and then they fly away with the egg, drop it, and then they go ahead and eat out the yolk or the tiny little chickie that's in there. But look at the skua chicks. They're cute, right? You guys hate skuas. It's not good. Skuas are awesome. They're absolutely amazing. They're so intelligent. And then some of the predators, later on in the season, you get leopard seals taking them. Everybody's like, what eats the gentoo? I'm like, well, you get leopard seals out there sometimes. Here's a shot of a leopard seal. With gentoo in its mouth. Yeah. This is later on. So you need to book another cruise a little bit later in the season. You can see some predation. I know you love it. And then a couple of times we've had orca in the area. And we've got our little zodiacs out there. And when there's no pack ice, when there's no ice for a penguin to jump out of, they jump into the zodiac if there's an orca. And it's like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden, if you're in your zodiac and a penguin jumps in, look around. There might be an orca coming at you. All right, guys, more penguins as we head into tomorrow and the next days. We'll see lots more penguins. Thank you, everybody, for your great questions.
Good. Forgive my voice, I swallowed a frog. I will try to make it last for the next few minutes at least. I'm going to start off. I have a couple questions for you. Has anybody seen a whale? 1 or 2 whales out there? Maybe some fin whales, humpback whales. And the second question is, how many of you, when we said there's a whale at 11 o'clock, looked at your watch and said, oh, it's 10:45, there's going to be a whale in 15 minutes? Come on, be honest. I know at least one of you has had to have done it. Yeah? Come on, you're not going to admit it? I wouldn't either. So by now, maybe you figured out what that actually means, and that's in reference to the ship. So as the ship is driving forward, off the bow, that is 12 o'clock. Off the stern is 6 o'clock. And like the hands of a clock, off of the starboard side would be 3, and off of the port side would be 9. So that's where you look when we say to come out and spot a whale, and that's where it is. So the whales, right now there are a bunch of humpback whales down along the peninsula. They come down here every summer to feed. This is prime feeding grounds. And they congregate in a pretty tight area in certain spots, which make them really easy to study, or relatively easy to study by the researchers when trying to figure out some population information. When the humpback whales dive down, as you've seen, they're pretty special in that they fluke. They put their flukes up in the air and show them to you. And when they do that, you can see that there is a unique pattern under there, almost like a fingerprint. So every whale has a unique pattern underneath its fluke. And the researchers figured out that they can take this information and use it to learn about the animals. And so they do. They go out there and they repeatedly take photos of these animals and go back and analyze it, try to figure out where these animals go, how often they come down, if they're here 1 year or if they're here the next year, and they can start to extrapolate lots of really interesting information from that. So say they go out one day and they spend the entire day out there and they photograph 3 animals. So they go back to their lab and they look at these photos, and here's what they look like. Clearly 3 different animals. But they go out the next day and they see 3 whales and they get 3 photographs and they go back and they look at them in the lab. That's the same animal. It just showed up 3 different times. So these are 2 very different scenarios, and they mean very different things when you're trying to learn about the population. So what can you learn? By taking photos of these and tracking these animals over time, you can learn about abundance. How many are out there? Are they surviving? How well are they surviving? Who's reproducing? Which females are reproducing in a specific year? And a little bit about dispersal. Are they moving between populations, and at what rate are they doing that? So there's a lot that you can learn just by being able to deduce the individual in the population. Why am I telling you this when you want to go to dinner? Well, because you guys have nicer cameras than I do, and you're going to be out there taking photos of these whales and trying to get the perfect fluke shot when it comes up right in front of you. So what we're asking is that if you happen to get some good shots, is that you'll share them with us. And this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a flat face-on shot, perpendicular shot, with the entire fluke out of the water, and where you can see all of these markings, and it's clear, it's not blurry, it's not too dark. So we're looking for, this is an ideal photo, but sometimes, a lot of times we don't get ideal photos, we get the best that we can. So if you get some good fluke shots and you're willing to share them, we would love to take them. We're also getting photos of orcas. They have unique markings as well. So this saddle patch right here can be unique, have some scratches in it or a unique shape, as does the eye patch. And so if you get some photos, if you see a pod of orcas and you get some photos of the saddle patch or the eye patch, or even a nice group shot, because some of the researchers are interested in how big the groups are. If it's a group of 20, and then you can tell by looking at that picture how many are young ones of the year, so they can learn a lot by the group shots as well. So if you get some orca pictures, please share those too. If you would like to participate, here's what I need you to do. We need to know when the photo was taken. So a lot of your cameras, you can set the date and time stamp on there. So if you wouldn't mind just checking to see what time and what day your camera's set at, and set it to the local ship time, that would be really helpful, because we won't be looking at these photos until a long time from now when we're back home. And we need to know exactly when that photo was taken, because we're going to go back and look at the ship's tracker and compare that so we know where the whale was sighted. So we need to know when and where that whale was sighted so that we can put that into, it needs to be collected with the data, otherwise the population information is really hard to get. So we need that. What are we doing with it? So the Allied Whale Department of College of Atlantic that Sean runs, he manages this. This is a database, and they've collected up to, I think, almost 6,000 individuals so far, due to the efforts of folks like yourselves that turn in these pictures, from just the Southern Ocean population. So 6,000 animals have been identified. And there are also some researchers from Oregon State and Duke that are using a subset of this population to look at some specific questions down here. So again, if you're willing to share, we'd love to have them. At the end of the cruise, we'll put in the herald where and when we'll meet with you. So it'll be on the way north, maybe in the Chilean fjords. It'll be myself, Sean, and Rachel. We'll show up there. If you could have the photos on a thumb drive, it'll expedite things. And please don't think that you're out on deck and there's 50 other people out there and you've all gotten the same photo and surely somebody has a better photo than you, because they might not. You might have the best photo, or everybody else's could be blurry, or maybe they only got half the fluke. So or maybe you were up really early and out on deck and nobody else was out there, and that's a very special photo because you're the only one that got it. So please feel free to come and share them. We would love to collect whatever you have. Thank you very much.
Until here is the captain announces something. I hope you had a fantastic day. So very briefly, we have a few more minutes. Yes, we do. Dinner is not ready quite now. And some few things here. Let's see if you're geographically literate or perhaps geographically challenged. Who knows? So, we all talk about Antarctica, but truly it's a huge continent. We've only seen a bit of it, enough to be in love with it and be so passionate for us. Some people have come more than 100 times. I mean, look at Brent. Ooh. Anyway, so, but it's a huge area of the world. Think of a continent you might have been to. If you go to Africa, it's the same to be in Cairo or in Cape Town. North America, way up in Alaska or down in the south of the US. So it's very unfair towards Antarctica to say it's just Antarctica. It must be all the same, full of ice and penguins. Well, there are differences within that. First of all, a map, we know it's a huge area. We're only exploring the tip of the peninsula and the Shetland Islands. Which way is north in this map? Normally on all maps it's up, right? Anyway, why don't we see the map of Antarctica like this? Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
Or perhaps like that, or like that. Which way is north now? Everywhere. Puzzled faces, stunned silence. We normally see the map of Antarctica like this, because this is totally arbitrary, of course. There is something up here. What that might be? Any guesses?
South America.
The zero meridian, Greenwich. 0 all the way up to the UK, the center of the world. It's a common and arbitrary thing, and the peninsula is pointing to the left, and this is how we all accepted to see the map. So, very briefly, a few things. I'm going to go running through here. Now, Antarctica is famous for the penguins, but there's something even more fulfilling Antarctica. I mean, more relevant, let's say, to Antarctica. Most famous as subantarctic, by the way. And it's the ice. Antarctica holds the largest amount of ice in the world by far, 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 far. Today we had a lecture in the morning. Many of you were outside, it's fine. You can catch up in TV. But I was talking about the amount of ice that holds Antarctica, and some of you came and asked later. So there are 2 ice sheets in Antarctica that have been around for several million years, East and West Antarctica, and they do have a lot of ice. Antarctica was once connected in a supercontinent called Gondwana. I believe Daniela, our onboard geologist, spoke about plate tectonics and drift of continents. So basically it acted as a hub. And since it's achieved its current position, it has been isolated, and here things stick together and tie together: oceanography, geology, weather, blah, 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 glaciology. And because of the presence of the Southern Ocean and these cold waters that Sean explained yesterday, it has been isolated, thus becoming colder and colder and colder, thus permitting the existence of such an incredible amount of ice. So, in terms of the continent, the 5th largest continent in the planet, it is the windiest, the coldest, the driest, and check this one out, at the same time the highest and the lowest. Where's the mistake there? Is there any? Any ideas? How could it be the highest and the lowest at the same time? Well, the highest, if you take into account the top of the ice sheets and you walk around the snow, there's ice, it has areas of 3,000–4,000 meters above sea level, an average height of over 2,000 meters, 6,000 feet, which makes it the highest. For geologists, ice is also a mineral, so it's arguably, where is the continent? Well, on top of the ice or below the ice? And that is open to debate. Now, it's the lowest at the same time, because if you remove the ice, the land on which that ice is sitting and resting has been depressed by the tremendous weight of ice, 800 meters, and many parts of Antarctica are below sea level. Right? So, 99.7 covered by ice. 0.3 is free of ice. That makes you understand why penguins fight so much on the where is the ice-free ground to nest? Now we're up here in the peninsula and in the Shetlands, that figure will rise 10 times. So in the peninsula where we are traveling, it's 97% covered in ice, so 3% is free of ice. The ice sheet has an average of over 2,000 meters of thickness, the maximum thickness, and by the way, the maximum in the world of ice is 4.7 kilometers, 4,700, around about 5 kilometers of ice. That's the depression of the crust, which is floating over the mantle, and of course it has great influence in the weather of basically all the planet. Very cold area. By the way, the lowest recorded temperature in the world, minus 89 Celsius. So if you take a profile, this is what you see, the two ice sheets, and this is sea level. What's black is the land masses, and you can see a lot of it is below sea level. Very quickly, some of the geographical aspects of Antarctica. This map here shows you the elevation. The whiter areas are higher above sea level and obviously have a greater accumulation of ice. As you go towards the periphery of the continent, that depresses, so basically you can think of Antarctica as a big dome, very flat, with a dome shape towards the center. This also has to do with the fact of the continentality of the weather and climate, which as you go further inland, you will have great extremes and of course colder and less influenced by the ocean. And this one, never mind the text here, but this is very interesting, coincides, but it's not showing thickness nor elevation, it's showing speed velocity of the ice. So basically, how fast does the ice move? Well, in some areas in blue, very little, hardly moving. Once again, as you reach the periphery, you have glaciers and ice streams, which are bringing the ice from the center of the ice sheets into lower elevations, into sea level, pouring out into the ocean. And some areas moving over 1.5, 2 kilometers per year, which makes glaciers move 5-6 meters a day. And other parts, they move very little. Precipitation. So Brent just mentioned and showed you a picture of penguins under snow. Yep, absolutely. But I said a minute ago, it's the driest continent. Once again, you can't judge the whole continent by what's happening up here. So as you go to the center, it is a polar desert. Indeed, the driest place as a continent in the planet. Yeah, the Atacama Desert has that local area drier than other parts of the world. As you come to the periphery, so that's under 50 millimeters of rainfall, which of course is not rainfall, it's snowfall. And then as you reach the periphery, over 200, which is still pretty dry. Now, the tip of the peninsula and the Shetland Islands are of course a little bit more wet and much more influenced by the ocean. This is what happens under Antarctica, under the ice sheet. There is a network of rivers and lakes, which are liquid, believe it or not, and this has been in the news recently because of scientists of several nations drilling through the ice, trying to reach the water to find what was happening there, water that had been isolated for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and it's very interesting to learn what's happening there. This is a map of Antarctica. If you remove the ice, so if you thought you're doing a continental landing on the peninsula, well, think twice. There's a bit of mumbo-jumbo there because all this is a network of land connected by ice. This is rather utopical on the other hand, because if you remove the ice, where does this ice go? To the sea. So the whole sea level will change. And on the other hand, this landmass will rebound because it's free of the weight of ice. So nobody's saying that this is happening soon. More on Antarctica, ice shelves. These colored areas along the coast represent masses of glacial ice which exceed the land on which you're standing, and they just project over into the ocean and they're floating. This is what an ice shelf looks like, and they produce gigantic monster icebergs called tabular icebergs. If we get lucky, we might see some of them sailing. That's what the ice shelf looks like. Very quickly, this show you what happened not long ago, several times, in very short periods of time. Huge areas that had been covered by ice shelves for thousands of years, in just a period of a couple of days, broke off. Just to finish here, once again the peninsula. Some of the facts which are exclusive to the peninsula that make it different to the rest of the continent. So it runs about 1,800 kilometers in length. These lines show you the mean annual temperature. So look at this. we are not in such a terribly cold place up here. Today we had more or less the mean annual temperature is 0, 32 Fahrenheit. Of course, as you go further south and as you go inland, it will be pretty much colder. Exposed rock, 3%. And this is just a way of making you think when you're on this area, moving around the next couple of days, when you look around, think of it as a place where the rarest commodity is snow and ice-free terrain, which is great because I get to speak about the ice. Thank you very much. Now?
All right, where are the kayakers from today? Have you all wiped the whale breath off of your sunglasses? Yeah, pretty spectacular viewings of some wildlife, especially from a kayak with no motor. This briefing was supposed to be done yesterday. Thanks to Jan and Ashley and the rest of the entertainers that helped dress you guys, everyone was well prepared for today's kayaking, but for those that have signed up for later in the voyage down here, this will hopefully give you a better idea of what to expect once you get down there and join us for kayaking. There's no motors. So once we get out there, we're going to take care of the safety, the group management, the weather conditions. We'll keep an eye on all that. It's your job just to get out there and paddle and enjoy the scenery and the potential wildlife. So each kayak is a double kayak. If you sign up as a single, you'll just be paired with another single in the group. If the group has an odd number, then we'll pair you with a qualified crew member that we can throw in the kayak with you. They're very stable, about the size of a bathtub. No one's tipped over. They're virtually untippable, as the manufacturer says, which make it great for paddling down here around ice. And like you saw today, maybe in case there's a close whale encounter, something like that. Definitely made for stability, and there's always two paddlers. All right, each kayaker gets their own dry suit. Underneath the dry suit, we recommend between 2 to 3 layers. A lot of you just nailed that dressing today. No complaints on being too cold, maybe some hands, but hope everyone got back to the ship and warmed up a bit. They all have latex gaskets around there, so when you come to dress for kayaking, we ask that you don't wear any jewelry. No rings, watches, earrings, anything like that. Just come without all that so we can put that latex Gore-Tex suit on you with no problems. Also, you'll be issued a dry bag if you care to have one. If you have a nice camera, please take one of these. Everything inside that dry bag will stay dry. We'll show you how to roll it over, buckle it, and take it with you in the kayak. You'll have it in the middle of the kayak between your legs, very accessible. That way you can get a photo at any time during the kayaking trip while your other partner can continue paddling, or you can just both enjoy the moment together. Also, you'll be wearing some neoprene booties. This just helps when you disembark from the Zodiac. You can walk in any depth of water. They also stay warm too. When neoprene gets wet, it still keeps its warming. Also, kayak-specific PFD. So this is not a CO2 inflatable PFD like the Zodiac blue ones that you have. This is very comfortable. It's made for kayaking, made for mobility. So again, it's very comfortable. We want you guys to be out there safe and just to enjoy the kayak too. Once you're all dressed, we load you into the Zodiac. Some of you are in a Mark 5. This is a Mark 6 where you can fit all 16 of you. Take you to the kayaking beach where you receive a quick safety briefing from myself or from Paul. We'll go through some safety topics, some quick paddling technique. Again, this is very basic. Then we'll regroup on the water, do one more quick demonstration, and then head off and enjoy the scenery. On days like today, this is perfect conditions. First group had a little bit of wind and wave, but I think that paid off once we had those whales. The later groups had just flat, calm conditions. It was still as spectacular as the first group. Again, I hope to see the rest of the kayakers out there just enjoying it. If it is cold, I recommend one thing. If you have that your parka with the down jacket, take the down jacket, separate it from the parka, put it inside, then we'll put the dry suit on top of you, and the parka can go all the way on the outside. That way you have a collar and a hood that you can wear on the outside. And we're always looking for conditions like that, right? Well, from the expedition team, thank you to Iggy, thank you to the officers on the bridge deck, thanks to all the agents and crew along the way, and thanks to you for a fantastic first day in Antarctica. Wish you bon appetit.